We're holding today's event in recognition of National Whistleblower Appreciation Day. And this day normally takes place on July 30th. And it traces back to America's first whistleblower law. It was actually passed unanimously by the Continental Congress, and it was in support of 10 soldiers who had exposed fraud during the Revolutionary War. Now, fast forward to today, and you as congressional offices and staff remain uniquely positioned to act on and benefit from whistleblowers' disclosures. You also remain in a significant position to support them as they work through probably one of the most difficult experiences, not only throughout their career, but their lives. Now, more often than not, whistleblowers explain that they don't feel this is a decision, right? They feel they were just doing their job. You know, they have a sense of duty to come forward, maybe to protect an oath that they took, or to protect the flying public, as we've seen, or to protect consumers. Now, we have the privilege today of hearing from one of those courageous truth tellers, Erika Cheung, who we're really pleased and excited to have here. And Erika did something incredibly courageous when she came forward as one of the first whistleblowers to disclose the Theranos scandal. Who here is familiar with Theranos? Show of hands. Yeah, okay. For those who aren't, this was a situation where under Elizabeth Holmes, the company had marketed faulty blood tests, and this ultimately garnered global attention. So you'll be hearing more about that from Erika. And then after we have Erika's special opening remarks, we are going to hear from a number of expert panelists. These are leaders from the government, executive branch agencies, and offices that you as Congress have charged with protecting whistleblowers. Now, specifically, we're going to hear from Lee Martin, Director of OSHA's Whistleblower Protection Program, as well as Emily Collier with the Office of Special Counsel, and last but certainly not least, Kenneth Sharpless with the Department of Defense's Office of Inspector General. And then after we have those opening panelist remarks, we are going to move into a moderated Q&A where we won't have any recording during that time. Now, before I pass it off to Erika, I do just want to acknowledge that, Erika, before you helped to take down a multi-billion-dollar startup company, and I should mention this was, I think, your first job out of college. Erika, you had to reinvent your career path, as so many whistleblowers often do. But you were determined to not let history repeat itself. And what you did was you went on to found Ethics and Entrepreneurship. And I'm just going to acknowledge the mission of that organization because it's incredibly telling. And then I will pass it off to you. Now, specifically, Ethics and Entrepreneurship is a company a nonprofit whose mission is to foster ethical questioning, culture, and systems in startups and innovation ecosystems. Now, without further ado, pass it off to Erika.
Should I go on
Wherever you prefer. Come up here. Yeah, I'll switch.
Thank you. All right. Hi, everyone. It's wonderful to be here. And Shauna, thank you so much for the introduction and everyone for participating in this panel.
Can everybody hear Erika okay?
Can you guys hear me? Okay,
Can you
excellent.
just speak up a bit?
Okay. Yeah, I have a generally soft voice, so I'll try and project a little bit more. But
if this works better and you prefer, you can
oh, this is good. This is good. So I see a lot of young faces. So I imagine, have some of you guys watched the television show, The Dropout? Anyone? Okay, yeah. I figured I can always tell, from different types of media who may have heard of the case. And young people tend not to follow the Wall Street Journal nearly as religiously as some other people. So I can see that the popular media has sort of brought this case alive. I want to say thank you for everyone for being here and all the work that you do. Whistleblowing for me was, as Shauna said, somewhat of a surprise to stumble into. So every year I come up here for National Whistleblower Appreciation Day and really have been just completely surprised by the community of people who have risked so much of themselves to speak truth to power in so many different aspects of work and of life in order to sort of protect others and to really reveal some hard truths that are hard to grapple with for a lot of people. So thank you guys for taking time to sit and listen to the panelists today and to myself, because whistleblowing is this sort of niche thing that I think a lot of people don't realize is super crucial to accountability in our societies. So to give you guys context and sort of my stumbling into it, I became a whistleblower by accident. You know, I was a idealistic 22-year-old who wanted to change the world by going in and helping build better revolutionary blood testing technology that was more accessible and more affordable for American citizens. That was my mission, that was my goal, that was what I was driven by, and decided to do that in one of the most exciting regions of the world, especially at that time in 2013, which was the Silicon Valley, and stumbled upon Theranos, which had this remarkable, at least on the surface, female founder who had amassed all this backing from, Henry Kissinger and George Shultz and James Mattis to really build up, what seemed like a revolution in blood diagnostics. So for some people, you're like, this is kind of a technical subject. What's so special about blood diagnostics? But really, 70% of all medical decisions are made through testing. It's really what informs what medications people take, what kind of diagnosis that they have, how long they're going to live. And so it was this weird opportunity that I'd stumbled upon at 22 that I really believed I was going to make a huge impact if we helped sort of make this more affordable, more accessible. So Theranos was attempting to essentially convert all of your venous testing into finger sticks. And so what they had claimed is that they could take a finger stick of blood, they could run it into a medical device about the size of a printer. That printer would run all the diagnostics, pop up the results on your phone, and be able to tell you, whether you had cancer or not, whether you were positive for an infectious disease, whether you needed to modify your medication for thyroid management. And as great as that seemed, and as good at the deals that they had secured a huge deal with Walgreens. So they were going to spread these medical devices all across Walgreens around America. There was one big fundamental problem. There was many small problems, but the fundamental problem was this technology that they were leveraging to use on patients didn't work. And so me as a young lab associate working with these devices, I had seen failure rates of up to 60% for some of these tests. People were being overdiagnosed with prostate cancer. They were being underdiagnosed for things like syphilis. And the problems were happening at such a frequency and such a rate that it was really disturbing and just a different level of negligence. And initially, when I'd worked for the company, I'd expected, I'm working for a startup, I want to see this company succeed, that if I went and talked to my managers, that they would resolve these issues. So I had ended up talking to the COO of the company and illuminating to him, I'm seeing a lot of issues within the laboratory. I'm very concerned about these things, and I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. We're seeing failure rates of up to 50%. What should I kind of do in order to make sure we're holding ourselves to a high standard when we treat patients? And the COO of the company looked at me in my youth, because I was 22 at the time, and he said, "You are a recent graduate from UC Berkeley. Have you ever taken a statistics class? Do you know anything about statistics? I need you to do the job I pay you to do, which is to process patient samples without question." So as you can imagine, this was jarring for me. I was like, what's going on here? I thought that I was on the same team as this person, and that ultimately what we were trying to accomplish was to provide good quality health results for people, and this guy was not really being receptive to that reality. And then I additionally went up to the board of the company, and the board basically told me to find a new job. So after these trials of working internally in a company, I didn't know what to do. I was really at a loss. I knew we were endangering the lives of patients. I knew the public didn't know, and I knew the company was going to go to extreme lengths to cover up what was happening in the organization. So this is what sort of turned me into being a whistleblower. And if anyone told me 10 years ago that this would be my reality in my life, I would have called them a liar. I would have not really had any expectation that this would be so closely a part of my new identity. But in certain ways, I'm so grateful to that experience. I'm so grateful that we have regulatory agencies that you can report to when you see something wrong within your institution, that can come in and conduct investigations and really hold these organizations that are potentially harming the public interest accountable. So I had reported to the Center of Medicaid and Medicare Services. It's a not obvious regulatory agency to report to, but they are ultimately the regulatory body in charge of allowing laboratory diagnostic companies to test patient samples. And Theranos was playing this sort of regulatory gymnastics where they were manufacturing all of their devices on site in the lab and calling these devices laboratory developed tests. That's why the FDA did not actually have any ability to regulate over them, because they weren't distributing medical devices because they were all produced in-house. And so luckily, from this report that I had reported to CMS, they conducted an investigation and they found over 40 deficiencies across the laboratory, having immediate harm and threats to patient lives with several different tests, and they shut down Theranos' patient processing labs, and they were barred from being able to test any patient samples and conduct any diagnostic lab tests for about 10 years. Yeah. 2 minutes. So for me, that was kind of settled in terms of my whistleblower journey. I was really there to protect public interest, and that was it. But of course, as many of you may have seen from the headlines, there was a whole ricochet of other things that happened. They were lying to investors. If they were lying to patients, chances are they're lying to a lot of their other stakeholders within their organization. So Elizabeth Holmes, the CEO of the organization, and Sunny Balwani, the COO, were indicted on federal charges of patient and wire fraud, and they were convicted. So Elizabeth Holmes is facing 11 years in prison. I think she had some sort of reduction, and then Balwani is facing 13 years. So there can be huge impacts of whistleblowing in terms of recorrecting the course where history could go. You know, sometimes whistleblowing is a bit complicated, and even though there was a sort of conclusion and justice in my case, I'm glad that it stopped in time, because I think if Theranos had operated in the time of COVID, I don't even know what horrors could have happened. So there are all these ways in which getting and addressing these types of concerns early really help a lot of downstream consequences that are hard to predict or to see or to quantify. So thank you guys for your time, and thank you guys for all the work that you do. It's so key to my experience, and I'm fortunate enough to be here and work with people like Jackie with Whistleblowers of America or the Signals Network, who help support whistleblowers in their journey with whatever area of industry that they happen to be in. So thank you, everyone.
We really owe you the appreciation, Erika. That's why Congress holds this date, and we owe you a great debt of appreciation for changing the course of history and protecting consumers. Now, we are going to have time for questions, but at this stage, we importantly want to hear from our 3 other incredibly knowledgeable guest speakers. So we are going to start with Director Lee Martin, who is with OSHA's Whistleblower Protection Program. And that office enforces 25 primarily private sector whistleblower laws that range everything from covering, let's say, consumers and the financial industry to the environment, and certainly the transportation industry, as well as workplace safety. Now, you know, we should just acknowledge that the rise in Boeing whistleblowers alone over the last year underscores the immense responsibility and importance of your program, Dr. Martin. So without further ado, I'll pass it off to you for your remarks.
All right, thank you. So good afternoon. Hopefully everyone can hear me fine. Good afternoon, everyone.
Is everyone here in the back? Okay.
I'll
Project a little more. Sorry
I
about
will
this.
try to project a little bit more.
Yeah, I think there we go.
All right, I'll try to project a little bit more. My wife always tells me my voice carries, but so I try to keep it down, but we'll try it anyway. So thank you for inviting me to speak here today. OSHA's Whistleblower Protection Program is responsible for administering the 25 different statutes that protect employees who report violations of employee safety, consumer product and food safety, environmental protection, fraud and financial issues, health insurance, and transportation laws. We primarily protect private sector employees, though we do cover employees of the United States Postal Service. If a constituent comes to you, to your office, and with any concerns in any of these areas, and claims that their employer retaliated against them, then for raising an issue, then please refer them to my office or to our website, and that's whistleblowers.gov. Our job is a challenging one. In fiscal year 2023, our approximately 100 investigators docketed 3,243 cases for investigation. This number does not include the 12,712 cases investigators had to screen out that we did not have the authority to investigate, such as EEO claims or wage theft issues. Congress has given the Department of Labor the authority to investigate 3 new statutes since 2019 that have been delegated to OSHA without a corresponding increase in resources. Consequently, this has led to longer investigation time in certain statutes. We have tried to offset this with new procedures and providing settlement opportunities for parties, but the number of cases we receive annually continues to grow. Most of the complaints we receive are received under one statute, that's Section 11C of the Occupational Safety and Health Act. Last fiscal year, over 70% of the cases were filed under that one statute. Unfortunately, this statute does not contain many of the protections that the newer whistleblower statutes have, so employees who file under Section 11C are at a disadvantage. They do not have the private right of action. They must file their complaint within 30 days of an adverse action that their employer takes against them, as compared to 180 days afforded some of the newer statutes. And if merit is not found, then their only recourse is to file a request for review with my office, the Directorate of Whistleblower Protection Programs. Updating Section 11C of the OSH Act to include a longer filing period and private right of action would provide better support for whistleblowers while at the same time lessening the burden on whistleblower investigators. As the number of complaints and complainants continue to increase, we know that we need to improve our outreach to the workers to ensure that they know their rights, especially to the vulnerable worker population. Young workers who do not speak English, and those who are here on work visas may not know that they are protected from retaliation for reporting harmful work conditions to OSHA and can speak up when they see a problem. We're working on improving our outreach and to these groups and to all of our citizens. When employees feel empowered to speak up, workplaces are safer, and more workers go home to their families. In closing, OSHA Whistleblower Protection Program will turn 50 years old in October. We're looking for the future and hope that the next 50 years will see even better protections for the whistleblowers than the first 50. Thank you, Shanna.
Thank you, Director Martin. And thank you for your leadership very much. It's an immense task that your office has. You do it with grace. Now I'm going to move over to introducing Emily Collier. And Emily also has an immense task, which I'll go into, which is serving as Chief of the Investigation and Prosecution Division for the Office of Special Counsel. And this is the office that enforces the Whistleblower Protection Act. Now, in that role, Emily leads a team investigating retaliation against executive branch whistleblowers, which, as you all can appreciate, is a significant responsibility when you're trying to identify kind of the relevant agency to support whistleblowers who want to challenge retaliation. So with that, I'll pass it off to Emily.
Thanks. Good afternoon. Can you hear me okay? Good. Okay. I'm so pleased to join you today for this timely panel discussion on working with whistleblowers, to hear Erika's amazing personal story, and to tell you a little bit about how the Office of Special Counsel fits into whistleblower protections. Whistleblowers are an indispensable resource for oversight entities like OSC, Inspectors General, Congress, and other organizations seeking to promote good government and accountability. To my mind, effective oversight would be impossible without whistleblowers telling us where to look, what evidence exists, and what that information means in context. Because OSC works with whistleblowers across the federal government, the attorneys and investigators from my office may be reviewing disclosures made by nuclear engineers or cybersecurity experts or surgeons or forensic accountants. It's fascinating, truly one of my favorite parts of the job, but we in the oversight community can't possibly be experts in all the types of work that whistleblowers do. We're generalists trying to hold specialized components accountable. To do so, we need insight from people doing that specialized work who know far more about a particular program, risk, project, or threat. Thus, I'm very grateful for every person who has patiently walked me through lines of computer code or the nuances of federal contracting rules. With the information whistleblowers provide, our oversight work is made more efficient. We can understand what's happening more quickly and correct it if it's wrong. But the prospect of speaking up can be daunting. Many whistleblowers I've spoken with voice two common concerns: either that nothing will change in response to their disclosures, or that their own lives will change for the worse due to retaliation. These are understandable worries, and we can't guarantee the outcome of any particular complaint or disclosure, but OSC is committed to helping however we can. The statutes governing OSC's work allow us to support whistleblowers in three main ways. First, OSC provides a safe channel for making disclosures of wrongdoing. Second, OSC protects federal employees from prohibited personnel practices, including retaliation for whistleblowing. Third, OSC provides training and stands as a partner with Congress and other agencies who share oversight responsibilities. One noteworthy aspect of OSC's role as a safe channel for whistleblowing is the high degree of whistleblower involvement throughout the process. Although by statute, OSC cannot investigate the substance of the disclosures filed with our office, our disclosure unit relies on information from the whistleblower to decide whether an investigation is warranted, generally within 45 days. If so, the special counsel will refer the matter to the head of the affected agency, which must investigate and provide us with a report. The special counsel determines the report's sufficiency, taking into account any input the whistleblower wants to provide after reviewing the agency's report. Finally, OSC provides that determination, the report itself, and the whistleblower's comments to the President and to Congress. For most federal employees, OSC is also the primary enforcement authority for prohibited personnel practice claims, including whistleblower retaliation. OSC's process for handling these cases differs from our disclosure work in that on the prohibited personnel practice side, our staff conduct the investigations ourselves. Where there's evidence that a violation occurred, OSC is authorized to pursue corrective and disciplinary action in these matters. OSC also has a highly effective alternative dispute resolution program which facilitates meaningful, often creative relief for employees who file with our office. In each of the past 2 fiscal years, staff working on prohibited personnel practice matters obtained record numbers of favorable actions, sending a strong message that OSC will conduct independent, objective inquiries to bolster whistleblower protections and the merit system as a whole. Finally, our work presents many opportunities for cooperation with other agencies and oversight entities. A key element of OSC's approach to assisting whistleblowers is our robust outreach and training program, whereby we train federal managers and employees on all facets of our mission. In fiscal year 23, OSC conducted the most trainings in the agency's history, increasing our visibility among those who may need our assistance. We also have training materials on our website, which you're welcome to consult as a supplement to the outstanding information put together by your own Office of the Whistleblower Ombuds. At the end of the day, the work of my office and the work of many of yours overlaps. We have a shared interest in providing effective oversight and supporting the whistleblowers who aid us in that endeavor. So I welcome you to reach out where our roles intersect. And thank you again for inviting me today. I look forward to continuing collaboration with your offices and committees on this important topic.
Thank you, Emily, for those very helpful remarks. And there really are a number of commonalities between the role of the Office of Special Counsel, which is mandated with protecting whistleblowers, and the actions that Congress can take. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce, again, our final speaker today, Kenneth Sharpless. Now, Kenneth serves as the Whistleblower Protection Coordinator with the Department of Defense Office of Inspector General. And in that role, Kenneth has also no small task of educating about, is it correct, Kenneth, 3.4 million employees, if I heard correctly last?
Well, the number keeps going up, but
Keeps
yeah,
going
that's a
up.
good number.
About what their whistleblower options are. But importantly, Kenneth also facilitates congressional communications on whistleblower matters. Now, when you're looking for an agency point of contact to kind of facilitate with the whistleblower issue or to better understand how they handle those matters, I can't encourage you enough to start with the Whistleblower Protection Coordinator for the Office of Inspector General of the relevant agency. Pretty much all establishment OIGs are required to have this position. And unlike maybe your standard congressional liaison, a liaison for an agency, these individuals like Kenneth not only have that unique whistleblower expertise, they know how to navigate these matters with the whistleblowers, but they also are bound to the Inspector General's confidentiality requirements, which is instrumental to protecting your sources. So with that, I will just acknowledge that I know from firsthand experience, Kenneth very much embodies what Congress intended when it created this position, Whistleblower Protection Coordinator. So let me pass it off to you, Kenneth.
Thank you. Hey, look, first off, thank you for allowing me to be a part of this. I think it's a wonderful opportunity to sit in front of congressional staffers and so forth and have a dialogue about what I do as a whistleblower protection coordinator. And certainly sitting here with my august panel of experts here, I think it's just absolutely wonderful. Rather than read my script, I'd like to kind of just talk to you, because that's really what I do when a whistleblower either reaches out to me, calls me on the phone, or whatever, right? I just want to talk to them.
Kenneth, before you talk, I want to make sure everybody can hear you talking. Can everybody in the back hear okay? Okay, good. Thanks.
Okay.
Back to you, Kenneth.
Okay. So I just want to talk to them. And so my comments are pretty brief, but I want you to understand what my role is. And certainly, as Shanna said, there's one of me in just about every federal OIG agency across the board. In 2018, Congress passed the Whistleblower Protection Coordination Act, where it renamed this position that was established by the Enhancement Act of 2012 as the Whistleblower Protection Ombudsman. And the role of the Ombudsman back then was really to educate agency employees on the prohibitions of retaliating against employees for making protected disclosures. That title existed for about 5 years until about 2018. Congress decided we need to change that name to the coordinator. Well, under the coordinator's role, the mantra is still the same. This one about education, right? With some specific duties, one of which is not only educate employees on the prohibitions of retaliation, but also educate them on the many ways that they can seek review for allegations of reprisal. Educate them on the roles, and believe it or not, the role of the DoD Office of Inspector General. If you can imagine, we've got different military service components. We have defense agencies. We have different components where it amasses to about 3.4 million people in it, and it's growing. But can you imagine the folks that are down in the trenches, they don't know who the DoD OIG is or what we do. They don't know the role of the Office of Special Counsel or MSPB, the Merit Systems Protection Board. Well, that's one of the elements that is given to the Whistleblower Protection Coordinator, or those that fill that position, in helping bridge that gap into a level of understanding. There is a lot of times I get questions from complainants, if you will, or just folks just wanting general knowledge about how long does an investigation take place, particularly if it's one about retaliation. How long does it take? What is the process to getting a formal investigation? How do you file a complaint? All those things. Those are matters that I educate them on, right? I got to tell you, when I first took over the position in 2018, I was sitting in the office with the acting IG at the time. It was just he and I sitting at the chair, and he was congratulating me on my selection. And he looks at me and he pauses, and he leans back in his chair, and he says, "Ken, how in the world are you going to educate 3.2 or 3.4 million people?" Right? I didn't respond. I kind of just sat there quietly. And in my head, I'm thinking, well, I thought it was more than that, so it should be easy, right? So with that in mind, though, what I did is I came up with an implementation strategy. The first go-around, it was just a bloodbath, right? Because I put all these wonderful things, and you guys know what I'm talking about, right? You write things for your congressmen and constituents. But look, I wrote this first product, and it came back and with a bunch of questions and things like that. And I gave it a second try, but I wanted to simplify it. So I developed it into 3 pillars, lines of effort, right? The first was establishment, the second was engagement, and the third was accountability. In the establishment phase, what I took a look at, well, what was already out there? Certainly things that were public facing, what do we have on that? Was the information correct and all that? And what I found is that we needed to do a lot of updates. So what you'll find now is, on our reprisal page or whistleblower pages, you'll find briefings of each of the statutes that we cover. You'll find the actual statute. You'll find links to OSC. You'll find links to MSPB. You'll find direct links to the Department of Defense hotline, who handles, by the way, probably about 20,000 plus cases a year, okay? But that's our center of gravity. That's our cog. That's where a lot of the activity begins. So in the establishment phase, not only that, putting the right information out there so that our folks within the DOD can pull the information. I was going to push that information as well. Also in the establishment phase, well, what kind of effective methods could I use to help educate 3.2 million people, right? So I came up with this idea of using public service announcements, 60-second spots. My Office of Communications, they call these things snippets, right? These short commercials that get to the point. I will tell you this year, we had created 2 PSAs probably about a year and a half ago. This year I worked with the American Forces Network, right? And they took those 2 PSAs and showed them in the first and third quarter of the Super Bowl to armed forces, military members, families, contractor employees, and all that overseas, right? So the engagement is there, right? In the engagement phase, a lot of face-to-face, a lot of town halls, a lot of those things. But all in all, what I will tell you is that WPCs, as we call them, we're very active. And for us to help you, pointing whistleblowers that come to you for answers, I am your best ally, okay, as well as my fellow colleagues. And I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Kenneth. Just really appreciate those remarks. And I'll reiterate, I think you summed it up perfectly. The role of these different offices in supporting you as you support whistleblowers is invaluable. I mean, we stress that solidarity is key to survival in this space. And when whistleblowers contact you seeking support, you can be a lifeline for them. But you don't have to act alone. And it really does take this larger community of support to help guide them. So these are a few of the key offices that you can partner with as you go through this process in supporting whistleblowers and helping them identify their menu of options.